Hey, all my Pisces friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your January 2025 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Pisces, I'm referring to Pisces rising. This is the first house and it dictates the landscape of the chart. If you don't know your rising sign, you'll want to go to any one of the free birth calculators. You just need your exact time of birth and location in order to determine that information. When I refer to a day and a time, it's based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. The month starts off pretty tense. It kind of trickles from December 2024, where Mars and Pluto are in an opposition. Let me share my screen and show you. Pluto is in your 12th house, and Mars is in your Leo is your, I'm sorry, yeah, your 6th house. So what's going on here is that Mars is actually, okay, Leo is your 6th house, Cancer is your 5th house. Mars was traveling through Cancer back in fall of 2024, and it came into an opposition with Pluto while Pluto was in your 7th house of partnership. And there was some sort of push-pull, a breakdown of, or an excavation, or an awareness of angers, frustrations, or potentially something that triggered something from the past, something that triggers a psychological imprint and maybe even a sense of frustration attached to it. Now we're going to see that Pluto is now in Aquarius. So it was in your 11th house of hopes and dreams. Now it's in your 12th house, bringing up something of a soul's history. And Mars is going to move into your 6th house, and they're going to duke it out, essentially, with Mars being the underdog. I think this is important because Pisces can inadvertently not see themselves. They're traditionally rule the 12th house. And while it's very creative energy and a very compassionate and empathetic energy, there's also this feeling with Pisces that sometimes, they get lost in their own identity. Who am I? What am I? What do I represent? And I think that Mars is kind of kicking up the dust there, because that 6th house rules our health. It rules our our everyday activities. And then as Mars moves into that 5th house of your personal pleasure and fun and romance and creation, it really is a really creative house, that 5th house. So you're going to become aware where you've held yourself back, where angers, resentments, potential frustrations have made you quit, or maybe just say, oh, I'll do it later, and then never get back to it. Because as the year goes on and we get into your birthday month and beyond, you're going to experience a stellium in your 1st house that hasn't happened in a long time. And it's going to be very powerful, as Mercury and Venus are part of that stellium. The sun and the moon will come in. And of course, we have Saturn and Neptune going on here. So it's really, I think, a transformational time for you, and it's sort of a fork in the road. On the 3rd, Venus will enter your 1st house and in her exaltation. Always want to take advantage of Venus entering your 1st house. Now, the interesting thing here, we were just talking about Mars and potential angers and frustrations, etc. I see a transit yod here. Most astrologers would not include the South Node in a yod. A yod is the finger of God, with the apex being the focal point of something God wants you to address. This is your self-worth, your value, your creativity, and your money. And in some ways, be willing to let go, release, integrate, extract a wisdom from what it means to have other people be influential over your money. The Libra is your 8th house, and that is a house where, traditionally we think of Scorpio, death, taxes, big finance, moving money around. There's also Pluto rules that, and that's that deep psychological imprint. And here's Mars in the very, that 0 degree of your 6th house. And to me, this is a powerful energy pointing to your 1st house as Venus enters for quite a little stay, because she's going to move a little bit into Aries and then she's going to retrograde back into your 1st house. So planning and being prepared not only to follow your creative musings, but also to be brave to push through your insecurities and trepidations. I think this is going to be really powerful. On the 6th, Mars finally moves into Cancer. Again, that is your 5th house, the house of the child, we call it. It's also a house where, we're going to want you to see yourself being nurtured, being able to nurture your own creativity, your own intuitiveness, allowing that to sort of be the true north rather than maybe the opinions and thoughts of other people. And I say that because as Mars has moved into your 5th house, it makes a quincunx to Mercury in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is your 10th house of career. And right now, Mercury, the planet of communications, is on the galactic center, offering all of us on these days an opportunity to sit in meditation, in reflection, in time spent with the powers that be that we believe in, and download solutions, get inspired thoughts and actions. And while this is in a challenge, Mercury's in a challenge right now, not only to the nodes, squaring the nodes, and Neptune, it's in this quincunx to Mars, because all of this is faith-based. And this could be where you come up with ideas, because Pisces is super intuitive. I kind of feel like of all the signs, Pisces is the second most intuitive sign, because, and I say second because it's so compassionate and empathetic that it can sometimes swim away from its intuitions, where Scorpio, from my opinion, the most intuitive sign of the zodiac, will pull out its stinger instead. So here you're being challenged to trust something, because your mind will tell you, oh, that's just, my head. That's just me talking to me, but it could very well not be. It could be you talking to you, but your soul talking to you in a way that's, like a true north, leading you forward. On the 8th, the conversation will get a little more somber and serious as Mercury moves into Capricorn. And Capricorn is your 11th house of hopes and dreams. It's also the house of networking, the World Wide Web. It's a house that is futuristic. And I believe that while there is a square to the nodes, still there is an opportunity to start thinking of, how do I want to build? Does my speech, do my thoughts complement and support what I want to create for myself? Because again, these planets are all going to start convening in your 1st house. And I think this is giving you a real opportunity. But it's like, I almost feel like I have to be super brave and push on something that I don't quite believe. And that might be continued connection with my spirit guides, with my angels, with my team on the other side, my oversoul, to support me as I get braver and braver about, walking away from what feels realistic and practical. And that's what Mercury is going to be bringing up. The nodes will change signs into the Pisces Virgo axis. This is directly going to affect you on the 12th. I'm going to do a separate video on that. We see right now the nodes always go backwards. So they're moving 29 degrees of Pisces, moving towards the 0 degree. And this is going to be super significant, because you're going to feel more and more of a pull to allow the self to be birthed, and be very egoless to the criticisms or the opinions of your 7th house partnerships. If for some reason Pisces has created partnerships that were not aligned to their own expansion, but in some way supported the expansion of someone else who was coming from a more, we must of service type of theme or idea, you're going to have to be egoless to the release of that situation. And, you know, the Mars transiting back into Cancer could very well be bringing up some of that as your own creativity. If you're working in a collaboration, if it's not being acknowledged or supported or validated, you could find some frustrations going on there. And as you're brave in your willingness to address in a balanced way your own, you know, greatness, because that's all supported over here by Venus, and she's growing into a conjunction with Saturn, which I actually like, and she will grow into a conjunction with Neptune before the month is over. So this is such a powerful time for building a strong foundation with your creativity, your sense of self, your spirituality, the things that you want. The Pisces energy rules many things. It rules hotels, retreats, ashrams, hospitals. It rules mental hospitals. It rules orphanages. It rules places where we store people, both for their benefit and sometimes when, you know, jails, prisons, it rules that as well. So as you know the broadness of this house, you can shift your creativity into something that is birthed through your heart, because that's the self, the first house of self. Okay, and this is going to be coming up for a full year and a half. This is going to be, and how your, the other thing that could come up about this for Pisces and for Virgo is that if you're not living a more, and I want to offer it this way, authentic life to what is important to you, if you're somehow being still controlled by your fears or your trepidations or some substance of some kind, this will come up over the next year and a half to be addressed in a way that balances the energy. On the 13th, we will have a full moon in Cancer. Again, Cancer is your fifth house. It will reveal something. It could have something to do with how you self-care. And when it comes to pleasure and fun, because if you self-care through drugs and alcohol, that's your pleasure and fun, that may come up for review and balancing, because this full moon at 2:26 p.m. will be conjunct the retrograding Mars. I, again, will do a separate video on that. On the 19th, Venus will be exact Saturn. And I, every year when I see this transit, I always think that this is a summit about building on my creativity. And I think that is further supported by the sextile to your 11th house of Mercury. Really starting to think that there's possibilities. There are people and tribes and communities that will benefit from your specific point of view. I think that's important. We also see a growing conjunction between the Sun and Pluto. And on the 20th, that will be at 1 degree. And this to me is where Pluto combusts the ego. Most astrologers say that the sun combusts any planet it comes into contact with, but what we're looking at is polarities here. Pluto representing the very darkest part of our solar system, or the planet there, and then the sun, the very brightest. I believe that Pluto here is trying on some level in your 12th house to bring up old ego issues where you did not feel good enough, did not feel seen enough, your progressive ideas were not embraced, something, you know, along the lines of you didn't receive. And now you get to be egoless to the opinions of others as you allow yourself to innovate and renovate and move your story into the future. And I think this is also supported by the nodes. South node is trining this, and the North node is sextiling it with the spiritual, your ruling planet. Now, your ruling planet is not just Neptune, it's also Jupiter. And while I don't focus much on Jupiter here in the beginning of the year, Jupiter is currently in your fourth house of home, and it could in some ways be you are revisiting dynamics, beliefs, and if the fourth house allowed for your expansion or allowed for your creativity to be unbridled. Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini, so there's this sort of challenge between, you know, the details of things and then the broad, visionary kind of ideas. And I think this could potentially be where you're really looking at how the fourth house shaped your ability to believe that you could create money. because Jupiter being your co-ruling planet is also a money house, meaning the ninth house is where business and commerce with branding and publishing and marketing, all that. I think it's all the new internet content and all the creators that we have. Just by opening an account with YouTube, you become a creator, you know? So I think that this is an opportunity to visit those ideas, and if you're allowing for that expansion, and if so, how do I want to birth that forward even more succinctly? Okay. Those are the conversations that I think are going on that are they're a little disruptive, and at the same time, they're illuminating and clearing some of the dust out. Mercury is about to before Mercury enters, on the 25th, we will see that Venus is now at 22 degrees of Pisces, making an exact trine to Mars. So while Mars is retrograding in your fifth house, I still think that this is it's an opportunity where I become aware that sometimes the things that anger me might even inspire me to move forward, or might, compel me. I get so sick of something that I have to, and as a Pisces, being so compassionate, maybe every once in a while for you to get pissed off to move the story forward is helpful for you. But I think this is a good day, a good time. I think the end of the month, while there is always going to be oppositions and squares, it feels like the energies are starting to soften a little bit as we get to the end of the month when it comes to the trines that we have. Where's my cursor? The trines from the planets here down to Mars, and then the supported energies of sextiles up here to Mercury and Pluto. All right, now let's go to on the 27th, Mercury will enter Aquarius, and it will have the same basic conversation. Let me go one more day. On the 28th, we see the exact conjunction. This is similar for me to the Pluto Sun conjunction, but now I'm really starting to see how my mind runs a loop, how it's sort of imprinted with thoughts that I'm not intentionally thinking, but have been there for so long. They just run around in the back of my mind like elevator music. And does that elevator music serve my greater good when I start to become more and more aware of what I want in the way of my creativity? As your ruling planet and the planet that's exalted, Venus, become closer and closer, dreamy energy, imagining things, becoming more connected to literally the magic of who you are. This could be so fabulous. Let's go to the 30th now. I spoke earlier in the video about how Uranus is just sitting at 23 degrees in the sign of Taurus. This is your third house of communications. And it's also a house where, there's another family imprint by the Taurus energy, how it shapes my self-worth. So Uranus is going to sit first in retrograde, and then moving forward at 23 degrees of Taurus from December 19th, 2024, all the way till March 12th, 2025, before it moves a degree. So this is basically just sitting in the sky like this and compelling you to move your thoughts forward, to allow them to be liberated. So if you have insecurities and you're holding yourself back for some reason because you don't think you're good enough, or you don't think, or you feel like your creativity exposes something about you, I feel as if this would be a great travesty, because oftentimes, people are so in their relatability, they don't really see your situation, they'll feel their own. The month ends with, I keep losing my cursor. The month ends with Venus and Neptune in an exact conjunction. And this just feels like a lazy, dreamy day, to be honest. Almost, I don't know what day of the week it is now that I think about it, but to have the North Node, Venus, and a Neptune all conjunct makes me just want to do my creativity, get into my spirituality, connect with my sense of receiving from the universe and knowing that that is the platform with which all my creativity is truly birthed. And as you do that, Pisces, you'll recognize that there's no reason to need to escape or to feel invisible, but rather to allow your soul to be your lighthouse, your true north. You are going to have a lot of energy in your first house when we get to your birthday month and beyond. So as you take advantage of that, because Aries is your second house, and when Venus moves into that, she'll be in her detriment for a moment. But that moment is really being rewritten by the universe. Is she really in detriment when she thinks about herself and wants to be brave and pioneer her skills? So I think it's a powerful time. And well, I always say that, but it is. These are transformational times, akin to big milestones when the world has made leaps, both in technology and in its ability to create. So that's it for me for January 2025. I have recorded and uploaded a yearly video for Pisces Rising where I go month by month and talk about some of the highlights so you can refer to it throughout the year. The link will be at the end of this video. And then there's a January love and money tarot card reading that's based on sun sign. So you can check that out. And then I will be back live on Sunday, January 5th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. That's where we go live on Sundays and we do tarot card readings and get the angels and spirits advice for traversing the transits of the week ahead. All right, Pisces, thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing, and please comment and have a happy, happy new year. See you soon.